Guys, it's Miss Briscoe here again with today's math lesson. So let's go ahead and look at the learning goal for today's math lesson, and it says I can use common denominators to add and subtract fractions with unlike denominators. So as we talked about in yesterday's lesson, to add or subtract fractions, you have to have denominators that are the same, and a denominator is the bottom number of a fraction. And we talked about two different strategies to use yesterday. We're just going to review those strategies today. Okay, so you can find a common denominator and then you can find a least common denominator. And there's two different ways to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how we do that today. So finding a common denominator. If I were to have fractions, let's say I want to add 1/2 and I want to add 5/10. So I'm adding 1/2 and 5/10. I need to figure out how do I do that. So one of the ways is to just multiply your denominators. So you're just going to take your two denominators on the bottom, you're going to multiply them together. So 2 times 10 is 20. So that's going to be my denominator, for my new fraction. And so the rule is when you are multiplying anything in a fraction, whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So I know that 2 times 10 equal 20. So I multiply my bottom by 10, I need to multiply my top by 10. So 1 times 10 equals 10. So 10 times 2 equal 20. So that means I need to multiply 5 times 2. Well, 5 times 2 equals 10. So if I were to add my two top numbers together, I have 20 over 20. Well, I know that in fractions, if it has the same number on top as it does on the bottom, it equals 1. So my answer to that problem is 1. I'm going to show you how you would do that using a subtraction problem. So if I have 7/8 and I need to subtract 2/4, they don't have the same denominator. So that means I need to find the same denominator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the method of multiplying my two bottom numbers together. So 8 times 4. So I'm going to have to multiply 8 times 4 so that I can figure out what my common denominator is going to be. And I know that 8 times 4 equals 32. So 32 is going to be my new denominator. So 8 times what equaled 32? Well, 8 times 4 equaled 32. So that means whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So 7 times 4 equals 28. Well, 4 times 8 equaled 32, so that means that I need to do to the top what I do to the bottom. So 2 times 8 equals 16. So now I can go ahead and subtract. And I know that 28 minus 16 is 12. If you didn't know that, you could go ahead and you could do it this way. 8 minus 6 is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. So 12 over 32 is my answer. Now this is not in simplest form, and that is what you're going to have to learn how to do, is to put a fraction in simplest form. And so the way that we would put a fraction into a simplest form is we would take that fraction and you're going to divide it. You're going to find a number that both the top and the bottom can go to evenly, because I know that 12 and 32 can both be divided. An easy way to do that is sometimes you have to divide it more than once, and sometimes you only have to divide it once. But I know off the top of my head that I got to 42 by multiplying 4 times 8. And I know that 12 can be divided by 4. So again, what you do to the top, you have to do to the bottom. So both 12 and 32 can be divided by 4. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. And 32 divided by 4 is 8. Now 3/8 is in simplest form, and the way that I know 3/8 is in simplest form is because there is no number that can evenly go into both 3 and 8. 3 cannot be divided by any number except for 1 and 3. and 8 cannot be divided by 3. So 3/8 is that number in simplest form. So that's the extra step. This right here is that extra step that you have to do if you decide to use the strategy of multiplying the denominators. The way that you can get around doing this extra step is if you find the least common denominator. And to find the least common denominator, you're going to have to list out all of the products for that number. So let's try these two problems that we just did up top, but we're going to do it finding the least common denominator. So if I have 1/2 plus 5/10, I need to find the least common denominator for 2 and 10. So what you do is you list out all the multiples, oops, I missed a 6, of 2 and 10. Okay, and so it goes 10, 20, 30, 40. You just have to list out a couple, and you can already see that 10 and 2 share 10 in common. So that means our new fraction denominators is going to be 10. Well, I multiplied 2 times 5 to get 10, so what you do to the bottom, you have to do the top. So 1 times 5 equals 5. And then 10 times 2, I'm sorry, to get to 10 over here, I just had to multiply it by 1. So 10 times 1, so that means what I did to the top, I did to the bottom. So 5 times 1 equals 5. So when I add 5 plus 5, 10 over 10, which equals 1. So let me go ahead and do the 7/8. We're going to do the 7/8 minus 2/4, finding the least common denominator. I lay out my 4 and 8, and I list all of the multiples. So it goes 4, 8, 12, 16. Then I go 8, 16, 24. Well, I can already tell that 4 and 8 share 8 as a multiple. So that means my new denominator, which is going to be my least common denominator, is going to be 8. And we're subtracting, not adding. So to get to 8, I multiply times 1. So that means what I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So 7 times 1 equals 7. So I multiply 4 times 2 to get to 8. So what I did to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So 2 times 2 is 4. So 7 minus 4 is 3. And then I write the same denominator, so 3/8. So as you can see, I didn't have to do this extra step up here of simplifying my fraction. It was already simplified because I found my least common denominator. All right, guys, so go ahead and finish the rest of your lesson and your math assignment for today. I will talk to you later.